wakey after.
I'm going to be what?
Hi, everybody. What?
Hey, I'm not going to let
Okay.
you hog the camera because you're a camera hogger. Do we all agree she's a camera hogger?
So we are here in the hotel room having a little break from Rise. Nobody's watching yet, but they'll be here soon, so we should just get started. Do you want to tag Alana in the video? You're
You
tagged.
already tagged me. Hey, Jill. Jill's watching.
Okay. Hi, Jill. Okay, so we're here at Rise in Minneapolis, and this is a personal growth conference run by Rachel Hollis. You know, I love Rachel Hollis. Let's just roll with it, okay? Hi, Miriam.
Hey.
So we wanted to share something we were both pretty much speechless to the point that we really had to talk this out before coming on here with you guys.
And we didn't really talk it out because we thought, I thought at least, that let's just hash it out directly.
Mm-hmm.
We started going through it and then we're like, no, let's process this in front of all you guys.
It's crazy what we just experienced. There are a lot of things I expected to happen at this conference, personal growth, my own personal growth, but it's just not what we experienced. The room shook. The room was 4,000 women.
Yeah. My heart is still racing. The amount of emotion that was in that room, I'm a sensitive person as is, but wow. So basically the whole premise of this whole thing was, and why we titled this is Stand Up for Your Sister, right? So in the book, which is they gave out, there was a whole checklist. We don't have it because we passed it.
I have one.
Right, okay.
It's right here.
So this book had a checklist of all different types of things that we all experience, from anywhere from, let's say, suicide thoughts to rape, abuse of any sort.
Abuse, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, a lot of there was verbal abuse, physical abuse, things that people have gone through in their lives. Hating your body, hiding your emotions from other people. What else was there? So many things.
Loss of a parent,
Loss of a child,
infertility,
right?
Cutting yourself. Let's say, I don't know. There were just some major things that
you mentioned suicide.
Okay. I think so. People suffer with. And basically, you checked off everything, and then we folded it up, and we passed it along, and there were 3,600 people in the room. So we passed it to our neighbor, and that person passed it, and that person passed it.
It passed everywhere. Who knows where each of our own papers went?
Right. So it's totally anonymous.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was, okay, then you got your paper, which wasn't your paper, and then you opened it up, and then when Rachel would say one of the things, you would stand up for that person, stand up in support of that person. So it was really shocking to both of us how the amount of people that are struggling with such major issues,
heavy things,
so heavy on your heart.
See what Miriam wrote.
No, I'm not watching the comments.
Strauss might cry.
No, but
nobody's crying right now. Okay,
if she's not gonna cry for this,
I'll share with you later.
She's not gonna cry. I'm sorry to break it to you, but
I have emotions. We'll talk about it later. Okay?
That's another
we'll
issue.
Talk about it later.
But
I'm losing feeling in my feet. So you
okay.
keep talking.
I guess I was just in a state of shock because, let's face it, we all have problems, right? Yeah. We all have problems, and a lot of times we don't want to talk about those problems because we think that we're alone. Okay, we think we're the only one suffering. We're embarrassed. Oh, one of the things on the checklist was we're staying quiet because we're afraid of people judging us.
Ugh.
Right?
Every person in the entire room stood up. Every person
is afraid that what they have to say or what they're going through, they're afraid of being judged. It was, but what was just the amount of people suffering from, which was
the amount of people who have been raped, the amount of people who have been cheated on.
The room was raped, you guys. Half the room. I would
lost children, have lost parents. To me, I know going back to being cheated on, people have been through the amount of people who stood up with people who felt like they wanted to kill themselves, people who wanted to commit suicide. And every single time people stood up, it was beyond the shock of it, no one stood up alone. No one ever stood up and was the only person in that room who had been through that thing.
And it's not like it was in the single digits either. it was either, and any of these items, at least a quarter, would you say a quarter to not half of the room stood up. They stood up. They were tears. I mean, I went through about 15 tissues. I don't know. They were
lots
hugging.
And then we all took the pieces of paper. And remember, this is somebody else's life that you're holding in your hands. Like, that to me was the most powerful thing. I don't know who this human is, but I'm holding their life in my hand, and their life was, they felt like they wanted to commit suicide, and they had been raped and they had been cheated on. And I'm reading this going, I don't know who you are, but you are in this room and I'm holding your life. We all took our pieces of paper and we folded them up and we passed them all to the front, and they were thrown away. Because whatever you have been through in the past, it is not your future. It is not who you are. It is not who you're meant to be. And we threw the pages away, and then we all held hands. The entire room held hands. Almost 4,000 women. And it was insane to think that everybody in that room has experienced something hard, but it's not who we are.
And many of the times we try to hide it because we think we're alone and we're embarrassed. But it is so important to acknowledge your past and to not hide from your past, because like, your past does not define you. Your past makes you stronger. This is the fuel that you need to move forward, to live in the present, which will ultimately, enable you to have an amazing future. No, if all of these things, horrible things, didn't kill you and you're in this room at this very moment, you could totally, you were made for more. You can totally do so anything, you guys. You are not alone, and it was such a beautiful moment. I'm still shaking. But it's interesting when Melinda and I started talking about like how our reactions to it. Yeah. So my reaction was like one of gratitude. Like, thank God I have not gone through most of those things. I mean, yes, I've gone through a lot, and I did have check marks. We all had check marks. Yeah. We all have stuff going on in our lives. We all have problems, okay? We are not alone. None of us are ever, ever, ever alone. But the severity of people's problems makes me feel so incredibly thankful and grateful for my life and everything that it was. I have no words. But Melinda had like a different reaction. So that's what I'm like, let's just process this right now.
I felt guilt. Felt a lot of guilt. I still feel a lot of guilt that I had some check marks on there, and they weren't things that feel so crazy to me. And I'm standing up as this other human who has been through things that I can't even imagine in my life going through. And I feel guilt that I think that there's problems in my life when these people around me are going through what they're going through. And I'm working through this. I don't think that guilt is a feeling that I want to feel, but it's naturally where I went to, that like, who am I? Who am I to be there for other people and be there to support these women when I've led such a good life? And my problems aren't as bad as somebody else's problems.
So use that instead of feeling guilt. Use that as gratitude. Yeah. To show up for somebody that has
to stand up for other people.
To stand up for others and support them. You don't need to be in their shoes to feel love and support.
Yeah, but that's why I was like holding that person in my hands. I don't have to experience what they've experienced to be with them and to support them and to protect them when, and be there to just make sure they know they're not alone. I don't have to experience those things in order to be that person. Exactly. When I have to be that person for them.
So turn that gratitude, turn that guilt into gratitude, right?
Yeah. And let it guide me, not only to help my life, but to be there for other women. Because that whole room of women, we were all there for each other in that moment, and hopefully always, right? It's like what we were talking about before. Jen Hatmaker was up there. If you don't know who she is, go find her. She's amazing. And she talked about how women were bred to be in competition with other women, and how we're shut down so often. And it's like, instead of, what did she say? That we as women are boats in a harbor, and as the tides rise, we all rise together. And it's so true.
And never be jealous of someone else's success. And she admitted she used to be jealous. How many times do you see, oh, I wish I had, what she has, or, I can't do this because this person's better than me. And, it makes sometimes like watching other people, even like watching people do lives, it used to intimidate me. Like it still does sometimes, but no, it's not about that. It's about just loving yourself where you're at and coming together. All these people in the room, they're not like us. That we're all different. It didn't matter. There are no cliques. There are no anything. We're all equal. And they had this analogy of this elephant, this tribe of elephants, and the mother elephant was in the middle, and she was giving birth, and all the other mother elephants were protecting her and surrounding her. And the photo of that is like ingrained in my mind. Like it doesn't matter. They weren't part of the same family. But they were united to protect that one mothering elephant.
That's why it's like everybody's sisters. It doesn't matter. And one of the things she said, she's like, I've been through a lot of hard things. And jealousy sometimes makes you want them to go through your hard things too. But why would you want that for someone else? Like sometimes we have to go through hard things, and okay, it got us where we are. But if somebody else can get there easier, I just want to feel happy for them. Like, thank God you didn't have to go through all the crap that I'm going through. So, as he loves elephants. Don't worry, your mom likes elephants, Lana.
I did take a screenshot of the elephant herd for you, Mommy. So
we should get that one up in her house. Like, that's a beautiful image right there. Just everybody's getting elephants, okay? We actually have to get back to the convention. I mean, there's so much to work through, and there's so much to share. Like, people keep asking, how's Rise? How's Rise? I'm like, there's so much good information that I have to just process things one at a time. And this needed processing right away. Right. It needed to get out. Like, no matter what else happened, it needed to get out. Like, there's still so much to process with it, but it's a lot. How could we not share it with you guys?
So exciting.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we wish everyone a great weekend. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for being here. And, men and women, we're standing up for all of you. Don't you worry. We love our men too. But we got to stand up for our sisters because we all really, need it.
Stand up for one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, guys. Bye.